Before we dive into this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more coming your way. And tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? I want to know how far this story has reached. No more waiting. Let's get into the video.
His fingers were purple, his breath ragged and sharp. The silence of the midnight streets was just a mask for death creeping behind the glass towers of Tehran. But Leo kept moving, one step at a time, knees cracking, a stomach that hadn't felt food in 3 days. He didn't look up at the drones. They didn't see people like him. They recorded, sure, logged every frozen human body slumped in alleys, tagged and forgotten, but they never stopped. Not for children. Not for mothers holding babies. Humanity was a glitch in Tehran, a historical echo the Ural elite wanted erased. All Leo carried was a stitched journal and a rusted heating strap bound to his ankle, a gift from his sister, before they took her. No one knew where. She vanished like the rest. A siren screamed, long, low, security level 4. Probably another uprising crushed before it even began. Leo ducked beneath the oxygen tanks under the cargo bridge. That's when he saw it, one of them, a Ural soldier, lying broken, bleeding, armor split down the middle, blue blood pouring from his mouth like ink. A warrior, high command, elite. Leo froze. Instinct screamed, run, hide, vanish. He didn't. Instead, he stepped closer, like someone approaching a wild animal. The Ural was barely conscious, eyes half-lidded, pulse erratic. He tried to raise an arm, but only managed a low, gurgled groan. Leo glanced around. Nothing. Just the distant hum of the city's lungs, vents coughing steam into the cold. "You're gonna die out here," Leo said, voice thin, lips cracked. No response, just a look, dazed, confused, vulnerable. Leo exhaled hard. Then he did the unthinkable. He unclipped the heating strap from his ankle. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the raw cold cutting to the bone. With careful, almost reverent motions, he wrapped the strap around the soldier's arm. He didn't tighten it too much, just enough to keep that alien heart beating a little longer. "I don't know who you are, doesn't matter. I just don't want you to die freezing. That's the worst way." He sat down beside him, not out of bravery, not even hope, maybe just so someone would see them, together, and remember that once, a human stayed. And someone did see. Blades split the night, a roar above. 30 soldiers descended in perfect formation, rifles raised, target locked on Leo's forehead. He didn't move. Then, a voice, rough, hoarse, like sand scraping steel. "Don't touch him." The fallen Ural had spoken, and he was speaking for Leo. No one moved at first. 30 elite soldiers, trained to execute without hesitation, hesitated. One word from General Kareth, the voice behind that blood-soaked face, was enough to make fear ripple down their spines. Leo stood motionless, cold biting through him, heart pounding against ribs like a warning drum. "Secure the area," Kareth whispered, barely upright, but every syllable hit like a commandment. 2 medics rushed in, ignoring Leo as if the general's protection turned him invisible. They lifted Kareth onto a hover stretcher. He winced but didn't cry out. A warrior through and through. Then came the silence, the kind that weighs, that asks a question no one dares voice. Finally, the lieutenant stepped forward, tall, polished armor, eyes like ice. He looked down at Leo like studying an insect. "You touched him," he said flatly. Leo didn't answer. "Gave him your tech, your heat." Still nothing. "You think that means something?" Leo blinked, lips trembling from cold, not fear. "Didn't do it to mean anything." The lieutenant's jaw twitched, but before he could speak again, Kareth lifted a hand, barely. "Bring him." "What?" The lieutenant flinched. "I said, bring him." Leo didn't protest as 2 soldiers took him by the arms. Not roughly, not kindly, like a tool being transported. They didn't throw him in a cell. They flew him to the Sky Citadel. He'd never seen it from above. Tehran's floating heart. A fortress of light and steel suspended by energy pillars older than memory. the kind of place that vaporized trespassers on sight. Yet here he was, stumbling through its halls, frost on his clothes, tracked by eyes that wanted him erased. They didn't speak to him, didn't even look directly at him, but they watched. Everyone watched. In the medical wing, Kareth was stabilized, still unconscious, and Leo was left in a chamber too clean to be real. No bed, just silence and cameras. Hours passed. Then the door opened. She walked in like a blade. Ivana Kareth, the general's daughter, captain of the High Guard. Her uniform perfect, her face unreadable. But her stare, fire under ice. "You," she said. Leo looked up. Didn't speak. "You helped my father." A statement, not a thank you. He gave a half nod. "You didn't know who he was?" "No." "You didn't ask for anything?" "No." She stepped closer, one pace at a time. "That's dangerous." Leo's brow furrowed. "Why?" "Because kindness doesn't survive up here, and you just made a lot of people very uncomfortable." A pause. Then, softer. "You shouldn't be here." He met her gaze. "I know." She stared at him like trying to figure out where the weapon was hidden, but there wasn't one. Just a boy with frostbite on his hands, and a stare that refused to break. Outside the chamber, a drone's feed blinked to life. Leo, kneeling beside the general, wrapping a heating strap around a bleeding alien arm. And somewhere in the High Council chamber, a voice said, "Maybe not all of them are savages." Ivana stood at the center, flanked by commanders and analysts, all speaking in clipped, anxious tones, but her eyes were locked on the projection in front of her, a schematic of Tyran's underbelly, the forgotten, rotting veins beneath the city's polished skin. "They're using the sewage vents," she said. "Sublayer 9. Access points from districts long since purged." "Who?" barked Colonel Vex. Ivana didn't look away. "Krovenian saboteurs." The name silenced the room. Krovenians, ancient rivals of the Urel, monsters in every Urel child's bedtime story. But this wasn't a story. It was happening. Now, in their city. "They've planted 6 quantum devices," she continued, "targeting oxygen lines, power cores, reactor nodes. If they go off, Tyran falls from the sky." Silence again. Then a soft voice from behind. "I know those tunnels." All heads turned. Leo stood at the door, flanked by 2 guards, pale, but calm. Ivana didn't flinch. "He's telling the truth. He survived there for years." "You're not seriously considering using a human as a guide," Vex spat. "I'm considering saving this city. He's not one of us. He's the only one who knows the path." The room exploded into debate. But Ivana had already made her choice. She stepped toward Leo. "You lead. I follow." He blinked. "Why you?" "Because if this fails, I want to see it with my own eyes." That night, the infiltration unit dropped below the surface. 8 soldiers, 1 captain, 1 human. The air grew thicker with every level down. The warmth of the upper city faded, replaced by the rot of decades. Leo moved fast, quiet. Every tunnel was a memory, every smell familiar. They disarmed the first device beneath the old solar grid, the second near the water converters, the third under a collapsed dormitory Leo once called home. With every deactivation, trust grew, slowly. Even the soldiers stopped sneering. But tension boiled between Leo and Ivana. She was sharp, efficient, focused. He was instinct, gut, chaos. And yet, something tethered them. A magnetism neither could name. At the 5th bomb site, a Krovenian agent ambushed them. 6 arms, teeth like broken glass. The team fought hard. 1 soldier didn't make it. Leo watched Ivana in battle, not flawless, but fierce, human, even. After it was over, as she knelt beside the fallen soldier, he said, "You still think kindness is dangerous?" She didn't answer right away. Then, "No, but it costs." He stepped closer. "So does hate." She looked up at him, eyes softer than before. And for the first time, she didn't see a human. She saw Leo. One bomb remained, buried beneath the city's core. The countdown had begun. It wasn't buried. It was the core. The Kravenians hadn't just planted a bomb. They'd rewired Tyran's pulse, embedding the explosive deep inside the fusion lattice beneath the city's energy spine. If it detonated, there'd be no warning. Just light, then nothing. Ivana's voice cracked through comms. "We don't have time to evacuate the city. Then we disarm it," said Leo. But it wasn't that simple. The core glowed blue, humming with quantum charge. The sabotage had fused it with a failsafe system. Any attempt to cut power would trigger immediate detonation. A puzzle with no solution. Until Leo stepped forward. "What if we overload it?" he said. Ivana frowned. "That's suicide. Only if I get the timing wrong." She shook her head. "No, we go back. We find another way. There is no other way." His voice was steady. She stared at him. That same look from the medical chamber. Suspicion. Fear. But now, something more. Something she didn't have the words for. "You could die." He nodded. "And I'd rather that than watch this place fall." She grabbed his arm. "Why you?" "Because I know the timing. I've lived with it. I've listened to these tunnels longer than any of you. And because I don't have anything left to lose." Her grip tightened. "You do now." He froze, then smiled, a small broken thing. "You're not helping." She didn't let go. "Not yet." 3 seconds, she said. "Three's all I need." Alarm screamed through the comms. Kravenian reinforcements had entered the upper layers. They had minutes, maybe less. Leo climbed to the platform. His hands flew across the panel, rerouting energy, decoding alien systems like he'd done it 100 times. The fusion core vibrated, the hum turning into a growl. Ivana watched from below. Lips parted, nails digging into her palms. 30% charge, Leo called out. A Kravenian shriek echoed in the distance. 45. Leo! He looked down at her. Then, now! He jammed the conductor into the main circuit. Energy blasted outward, burning his jacket, throwing sparks across the chamber. He screamed, but didn't let go. The core spiked. Power surged through the grid. Lights flickered across the city above. 2 seconds! Ivana shouted. Hold! 1! And then, silence. A whimper of energy. The core dimmed, the bomb died, and Leo fell. Ivana caught him before his head hit the steel. His breath was shallow, his lips blue, but he smiled. I told you, he whispered. 3's all I need. She held him tight. Sirens faded. Somewhere, the sky began to lighten. The war wasn't over, but the city was still standing. And in that moment, so was something else. Hope. They didn't cheer when they returned. The soldiers marched in silence, eyes down. Not out of shame, but reverence. Leo was carried on a stretcher, unconscious, body wrapped in thermal blankets. Not the sleek Urel kind. No, this one was patched, handmade, faded at the edges. His sister's, the same one he had once used to warm a dying enemy. Now, it covered a boy who had saved an entire city. Tyran held its breath for 2 days. News spread like radiation, fast, glowing, unstoppable. The footage from the core chamber was leaked by an unknown source. The scene, a human, screaming in pain, holding a quantum circuit steady with his bare hands while the fusion core flared like a sun. The reaction was split. Some called him reckless. Others, a symbol. But one word rose above the noise. Hero. When Leo opened his eyes again, Ivana was there. Not in armor, not as a captain, just Ivana. He tried to sit up. She pressed a hand to his chest. You're not going anywhere. He blinked. The city. Still here. The core. Stable. He exhaled and smiled, weakly. Didn't expect to wake up. You almost didn't. A pause. Then, was it worth it? She didn't answer. Instead, she took something from her pocket, a metal. Oval-shaped, polished, gold veins across its surface. But in the center, a fragment of cloth, woven into the metal itself. His blanket. The council approved it this morning. They're calling it the symbol of convergence. He frowned. For me? For what you did. He stared at it. Then her. You stitched my pain into a trophy. She met his gaze. We stitched your choice into history. A ceremony followed. Grand, cold, overrun with politicians and generals. But when Leo stepped onto the platform, something shifted. No guards, no weapons, only silence. He didn't give a speech, just stood there. And for the first time in Turan's existence, a human stood center stage, not in chains, not in protest, but in honor. Later that night, Ivana found him outside, on the edge of the skywalk. The stars burned bright above them. You still think kindness is dangerous? He asked. She smiled. I think it's what keeps the world from tearing itself apart. He looked up. I don't know what happens next. She stepped beside him. Then let's write it. They didn't kiss. They didn't need to. Some connections run deeper than touch. Beneath the city, the core still pulsed. Above it, a new chapter began. And in every URL school, every human slum, every soldier's barrack, the story was told. Of a boy who gave away his warmth and melted a war. Of a soldier who chose not to shoot and found a brother. Of two enemies who looked past orders and saw each other. In the frozen heart of Turan, something had thawed, and it would never freeze again.